What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another short show. It's been a minute. I don't know if this audio is any good at all. I have no clue. As you can tell, I'm still not in a firm recording situation yet. But this today is going to be a bit of an interesting conversation because, as you guys saw, I was gone on Tuesday. My fiance came to town, so I decided to spend a little bit of time with her. I know, aren't I the best? Jesus. Yeah, so the big thing, and we got this question from Pony, USL Pony. If you're not following, go check him out, give him a follow. But the big question we got is it time for Phoenix to panic? And I want to extend this to other teams. And we talked about recently, is it time for blank team to be out? Is it time for blank whatever to say we're done with this coach, right? And Phoenix has not looked good these last couple games. I mean, Legion got a big win over them. That's how I'm kind of looking at it. But also looking at them this year, is that even a big win now? And I kind of want to look at Sacramento. We knew Sacramento was going to be good. Guys like John, USL Tactics, he talked about it himself that he thought Sacramento was the best team in the West. At the very beginning of the year, we didn't quite see that, but slowly they started picking up the tempo. After that, they go out and lose a 5-1 game to Tampa Bay and then a 7-0 loss to New Mexico. That really doesn't count. Sucks, but doesn't really count. Sorry, New Mexico fans. And then they go out and get a 2-1 result against Hartford, which if you're not paying attention, Hartford's kind of legit. Now, if they would have had this team come to the start of the season, they'd be really pushing for a playoff place. Corey Hertzog has been an absolute revelation for them. And Memphis slips up and doesn't get points against them yesterday, which is a little bit of a shocking result. I think every single one of us on the show picked Memphis to get these points. But Memphis has shown a little bit of a wobble. Did Anderson Acedu kill Memphis 9-1? Maybe. People are talking. By people, I mean mainly Legion fans. Anyway, so that's kind of something that's been going on there, which is really interesting to think about. We have we have these teams like Memphis who kind of had a little bit of a wobble. But getting back to Phoenix here, and we have Ryan who just joined the back room, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring him in. What's up, Ryan?
What's up, Kaylor? How are you today?
Dude, I'm doing great. Figuring out the whole computer situation, fantastic.
Still in the hotel lobby, I see.
Yeah, at one point I was in another room and then I panicked and then ran in here. So this is where I am. Nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you. They're playing Paderborn tonight.
Are they really? Is that tonight?
Yeah, it's happening now.
I thought that was next week. Man, I'm bad at keeping up with things.
Send me one of the pint glasses, Forward Madison. They were only selling them if you went to the game.
Somebody in Forward Madison land, please. So right now I'm just kind of talking about, is it time for Phoenix to panic? Because if you look at their last stretch of results, even if you exclude the New Mexico result, that's a lot of red. If you're looking at that page, the only win come against a Hartford team, which is pretty good now. If they would have had this team before, maybe this would be a pretty competitive team. But they get a 2-1 result against Hartford. And other than that, you have to go all the way back to a drubbing of San Antonio and then a 1-0 loss to El Paso, which I believe in El Paso. I've been drinking the Seriously Loco Kool-Aid, which, hey, shout out to our good friend Phil for having a baby. But is it time for Phoenix to fully panic?
I say it's time to start locating where that panic button is. However, I think one of the saving graces that they do have is just their next 3 games are against Loudoun United, Las Vegas, both of those away, and then they host Orange County. I think those are at least 3 winnable games for Phoenix Rising right now. If you're looking at Las Vegas, yes, they picked up one of their last results, but they had a really poor stretch of games. You're looking at an Orange County team who hasn't won in their last 5, and you have a Loudoun team with only 1 win in their last 5 as well. I feel like they need to pick up at least 4 points out of these next 3 games, or else I would start panicking.
You say that. I think they need 6. Because, I mean, you have that Loudoun team who, not great. And then you do, have that next Las Vegas Lights team, which they're better than we thought they would be. But in weird ways, they're worse than we thought they'd be. They're kind of, oh God, I can't think. Schrodinger's football club, I guess. But then you have an Orange County who's been disappointing, which Kobe Henry, that's been the big moment for them. But they did pick up the Nashville SC player today on loan. So that's a big gift for them. Maybe that gives them a little bit of energy, but they need 6 points from these next 3 because your next 3 matches are a bit of a murderer's row. You have 901 away, which AutoZone Park is a nightmare to play at. You have Louisville away. We all know about Lynn Family Stadium, and that's supposed to be the big summer blowout or whatever USL is calling that. And then you have
would be all-star game.
Yeah, what should be an all-star game. Yes. And then Sacramento Republic, who has already had their number, which John said this is the best team in the West. He said that earlier this year. And you got those next 3 games that you realistically could be leaving with 0 points. I think you need to have 6 games from those first 3 games of Loudoun, Las Vegas, and Orange County. If you don't get at least 6 points there, those next 3 games after that, you need to pick up at least 4 from those to make up those lost points.
Not just that, if you look past those next 3 games, they have a tricky outing against Oakland Roots, and then to end off the month of July, they play Colorado Springs. I think there needs to be a readjustment of the fan base's expectations for the team. I said 4 points because if they pick up 4 points in these next 3 games, they're third. I feel like they don't need to win the Western Conference. They don't. They're 9 points behind Colorado Springs and San Antonio. At this point, making the playoffs should be that goal.
I mean, the thing is, and you can claim home field advantage, and I mean, Phoenix has been a formidable side for a long time, but they still kind of choke in the playoffs anyway, to be honest, and that sounds extremely harsh, but they choke in the playoffs, except for the 1 year that they didn't even get a chance to play, which sucks. But they haven't shown consistent playoff success yet. So until then, it doesn't matter if you play home or away. You just need to play and win games at this point. That should be your goal if you're a Phoenix fan.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be getting into the playoffs because once you're there, anything can quite literally happen, as you saw with an Orange County team that stormed their way to a title. Once you're into the playoffs, that's really all bets are off. And I feel like at this point, Phoenix should just write off winning the Western Conference. It's not going to happen if you're 9 points back.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just the 9 points back. Welcome to the stream, Andy. What's up, my man? It's not even the 9 points. It's also just the way they've played. Even if you ignore the 7-0 loss, because in my brain, that doesn't exist. That match did not happen. Sorry, New Mexico fans. I don't even think you count it, really. It's just they haven't looked good. They just haven't. They haven't looked good since that San Antonio game where they beat San Antonio 3-0, because of course they did. That's just what they do. They play San Antonio.
Them twice. They've beaten them twice this year.
That they just look good against San Antonio, which is still a really good team, by the way. And somehow, quietly, the Switchbacks are still top of the table. I feel like we kind of got excited about Switchbacks, and then they sort of fell off their lightning pace, and then they're still sitting up there right pretty at the top with the game in hand over San Antonio.
I wouldn't say they really fell off. I would say having that break due to COVID and everything, that really took the wind out of their sails, but they had amassed such a big lead at that time that they just kind of they had that time off and they're still atop the table. And those multiple games in hand, like if you're looking at it compared to the rest of the Western Conference, they have 5 games in hand over the Oakland Roots right now. They even still have 4 games in hand over Phil's El Paso team. This is still a chance for them to reestablish their lead and just continue to potentially not only win the Western Conference, but win the Shield this year.
And we kind of talk about, is it time to panic? And we brought this team up before, but I get it. USL show meme, USL show, curse, whatever. Tulsa, baby, what is you doing?
I mean, you have to be frustrated with a 0-0 result against what is quite possibly the worst team in the league right now.
And not only that, but you get a red card and a double yellow with 10 minutes to go. If you're playing against this, I mean, I get it. 10 minutes is not a long time, but 10 minutes up a man against the worst team in the league, that's plenty of time for you to get a goal. That is more than enough time for you to get your goal. I mean, they had all night long, they only had 1 shot on target. No, wait, Alan, is that for real? Is that their first low point?
They had 6 losses here. That included losses to Charleston, Tampa Bay. They've lost to El Paso, Orange County as well. They can count among their defeats. And it doesn't get easier for Tulsa here. If you take away the Charleston game in between these two, you have Memphis this week and then San Antonio in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a place where Tulsa, they just signed their new GM president.
Sam Dorr,
they're all, yeah.
He's a good guy though.
I mean, that's good, but it is. We'll get to Charleston in a minute, but man, the thing with Tulsa is if you bring in a new GM or a president or any new leadership, we've seen this across almost all major sports, there's going to be a coaching change following suit. How many times have you seen a new GM or a president come in and a coach was not changed?
I mean, you're in the middle of the year and FC Tulsa is very much a best of the rest type of team. Right now, there are 8 playoff teams fighting for 7 spots in the Eastern Conference at the moment, and Tulsa just happens to be at the top of the table for those 6 sides on the outside looking in.
And so Tulsa would be a playoff spot if you were just counting home games in the East. What a stat that is. And this is just once again, and we've heard this before. If you win at home and you tie away and you draw away, you'll make the playoffs or you'll be in a good position. That's how you become a mid-table club. If you win all your games and don't even get points away, this is how you have fans calling for your coach's head. And the thing is that they have talent. That's the worst part. I understand that they didn't have some of their best players against this Red Bulls team because they were off playing with El Salvador against the U.S., but even with talent missing, they are a better team than Red Bulls. They just are. Your goalkeeper cannot be man of the match when you're up a man. They just can't. Your goalkeeper cannot be your man of the match if you're up a man. That is just ridiculous. And it really makes no sense to me. And I think we're going to be seeing a change because at this point, even though they are a best of the rest team, it is so hard for me to see them getting it together and making a playoff run, especially since that gap is 6 points already. And they have not played as many, or they played just the same amount of games as everybody else.
So, and the 11 have games in hand.
Yeah, so at this point, we're looking at Indy and Miami and Legion really fighting over those last spots. And I think Pittsburgh is going to reestablish themselves. Detroit is still really, really good. Tampa Bay is still really good despite having that midseason wobble. Louisville has come back down to earth, but unfortunately for them, that's only as good as second with a Memphis team who probably maybe should have got a result against Hartford last night, but Hartford looked really good.
Yeah, they played them pretty evenly within the XG. Memphis still won that XG, but they looked decent enough to get a result off a Memphis team who's probably at least still reeling coming from the 1-0 defeat against Birmingham Legion.
Oh, not Birmingham City. Now that would have been a match to watch. Yeah, I wasn't on the show to be able to talk about it. It really sucks that the rain happened that match and the storms happened because we did lose a lot of fans because an hour long lightning delay. But I mean that is kind of what it is. But it was such a good win for Legion fans. But I mean Memphis didn't look great. You can't even say. I mean, you could tell that they were missing some of their best players. I'll give them that. But also, the rest of the talent didn't look great, and it kind of looks similar against Hartford. I think this might just be a midseason wobble because I really believe in what they were doing. But they've hit two teams that are pretty good. Hartford, don't be fooled by their positioning in the table. They're a lot better than their position says. With all the additions that they've made, if they would have had this team at the beginning of the season, they could have been battling out for at least that 7th spot.
Yeah. And if
And
you're looking at Memphis going forward, like we've already mentioned that they're going to play Tulsa this weekend, but then they have their own kind of June, July gauntlet of games as they have Detroit, Tampa Bay, Phoenix, Louisville, and Indy 11 all in a row.
yeah, that is a heck of a gauntlet. That's kind of the gauntlet that I thought Legion would be going through coming out soon. But I do want to talk about this from Caleb. Yeah, Detroit City's already sold out crowd for Saturday. I'm stoked for that because this is our first ESPN match, right? I mean,
a noon game. I think the closest we've gotten in recent years has been ESPN2 for the Cup final, but I don't think we've had an ESPN proper game for USL, or it's been quite some time since.
I mean, listen, I know us and Detroit City fans have not had the best relationship recently. I'm not exactly extending an olive branch, but I mean, there is a reason why you guys were brought in. You guys have a crazy amount of support. And I said this preseason, I thought you guys were going to be a playoff team. I just believed in what they were doing. I didn't know how the talent would translate. I thought it would take longer to gel, but it did. And it ended up gelling instantly. It's almost that's what happens when you have a team that's played with each other for a while now. But this Detroit City team going up now against is it El Paso this upcoming weekend?
El Paso this week, and an El Paso team who is unbeaten at least in their last 5.
I know this was a bit of, well, is the USL show trolling? No. I mean, I know, XG only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, but XG to me, if it over a season, I don't think Detroit City has seen a team that can just muster up as many shots as El Paso does. I think this may be a game of this may be a bit of a game of death by 1,000 paper cuts.
If you're looking at some of the previous XG for teams, the one side that performed the best in terms of generating the most XG against Detroit City this year was Hartford.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to just drop this comment by Alan, and I'm just going to leave it up for the rest of the show. Yeah, please don't cancel your athletic subscription. If you want to help the journalist, keep being subscribed to them, even though you may not agree with the stance that came out. If you don't really understand, go take a look. Just go check that out. That's a lot of details. I think Alan and Phil talked about that pretty extensively on the old Twitter machine, if you want to get their thoughts on that. But yeah, I'm just going to leave that right there. But yeah, this El Paso team, and I'm kind of with Andy here. This length of a second division schedule, especially with the smallest squad they have, my concern with Detroit City is that they are one injury away from being in big trouble for the rest of the year.
Take out Steinwasser as their keeper, and it becomes really detrimental.
No kidding. If something were to happen to Steinwasser, they are just SOL. I mean, honestly, completely SOL. He has been keeper of the year. I'm not afraid to say that. I mean, Evan Newton has had a wonderful glow up, and I've said it. I didn't think he was the problem to begin with, I mean, Jordan Farr is still doing Jordan Farr things. He's ridiculous, but Nathan Steinwasser has been the most impressive goalkeeper this year to me, single-handedly bringing them to pretty near the top of the table.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Detroit City kind of approaches this game. I'm really curious how El Paso is going to approach this game. Like going west to east is never easy for Western Conference teams, but you're looking at an El Paso team who basically earlier this week they had played Phoenix away, and now they're traveling to play Detroit City at noon on a Saturday. It's fine, it's TV time, but that still has to be an adjustment going from El Paso to Detroit to play a noon kickoff when it's probably a very short turnaround time to travel there and depart from Detroit.
And this is all hoping that everything with flights, since everything goes right. I mean, I talked about this before, but I talked to the guy, one of the goalkeepers from Las Vegas, and he told me straight up, like, hey, we had a layover in Chicago for 6 hours. We didn't get to Birmingham until this morning. We didn't have a chance to train, and we didn't have a chance to do anything. And they had a game at, what was that? It was a 6:30 kick. Imagine if anything goes wrong with these flights. Imagine if we even get a micro version of the Tampa Bay situation. El Paso, that's tough. That is really tough.
Yeah, that's those are like really close margins to really try and get to these games and like ensure that everything kind of goes off without a hitch. And I'm sure there's a lot of planning going involved just because there's so much riding on this match, not just for both clubs, but for the league to have this exposure and to have something like a delay, or even a postponement is almost certainly like off the table, and it can't be done with just the amount of exposure this league's getting.
Absolutely. I do want to transition to my three sparks because we talked about them just a little bit. And we talked about the gauntlet that, some of these teams are going through. And I just want to say these names and don't think about where they are now. Think about it where it was preseason. This was the gauntlet that they were going to have to go through. Away to Phoenix, home to Memphis, away to New Mexico, away to Louisville, away to Atlanta, away to Charleston, away to Sacramento, and then finally home to Loudoun, away to Hartford. Those were, I mean, preseason, you're looking at Phoenix as a lock for the playoffs. I thought Memphis was a lock for the playoffs. New Mexico lock, Louisville lock, Atlanta United too. Not really. Charleston, I thought was for sure a lock, and I want to talk about them in a second. Sacramento's a lock, and I thought Tulsa could be close to being on that bubble. I mean, that preseason, that was the absolute murderer's row of having to go away so many games. But honestly, just Charleston not being as good as we thought they were preseason made that a lot easier. But man, because I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys, that result against Pittsburgh, where did that even come from?
I mean, we've seen it with Pittsburgh this year that I almost feel like they're one of those teams that when they get results, they can get it really well. But when the wheels fall off, the wheels will really fall off. And you'll just see like some of these just really baffling results. Like maybe Louisville 2-0 wasn't like too unexpected to see Louisville win that one. But just like the way Pittsburgh played in that one, just you would think that was just kind of more baffling. And then it's just so like they have these really strange results when you look at them, like a 2-2 against the Miami FC. They had a 3-1 loss with Tampa Bay. These are like, this is almost like a very much a like cherry on top of just these like strange results. I mean, we spoke on the last show with Alan that the last time Pittsburgh trailed 3-0 at halftime of a game was that 11-goal thriller against Harrisburg City Islanders.
That is just USL heritage in its finest. God, if you thought, I just wish USL Twitter was what it was then as it is now. Could you imagine the streets of the USL Twitter, how they would have reacted to proper Riverhounds versus the Harrisburg Islanders? God.
That's one of those games that just for the ages, I'd love to see like a secret base like rewind on that entire match just because it's so fascinating of this USL history there. But yeah, if you're going like to just kind of go back to your Birmingham Legion team, they've gone 245 consecutive minutes without conceding a goal. They've gotten decent results out of their past couple of games. I mean, unbeaten in their last 4, or their last defeat being that 1-0 loss to Pittsburgh on May 7th. But they're still not out of the woods. I think they're going into an informed New Mexico team that's a really tough outing to face. Then they travel to Louisville. But what helps them to start that kind of July period after that Louisville match is trips to Atlanta and Charleston to really kind of, I don't want to say soften the impact that those tough games against Louisville and New Mexico might have, but it's a good way to kind of like rewind and just kind of step back into form.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I've counted this before, but was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? 7 of those 8 games are away. And we're kind of in the middle of that stretch where the Memphis match is our last home game until July 23rd. That's a long time to be on the road. And with Atlanta, you kind of get a day at home. You can go over that day. Not a big deal. Still not great.
It's a
And
midweek game too.
yeah, this is going to be a gauntlet, and I've kind of said that if Legion can stay in that 6 to 9 range from here out after this stretch, even though this has gotten significantly easier than it was preseason, it's still that much of a road trip is just awful for anybody. I feel for them on that.
Honestly, if you're looking at the tiers of the Eastern Conference right now, you have a top 5 of teams competing to host a home playoff game. There are a few that have separated themselves from that. Your Memphis, your Louisville's, but it's those 5 teams. Then you have that mid-3 pack of Birmingham, Indy, and the Miami that you had mentioned. And then after that, you have like Tulsa on an island, and then it's just everyone else.
I mean, man, and meanwhile, the West is just. I mean, there is still a world that Orange County, who's in 12th, goes and makes the playoffs. It's getting harder and harder every single week, but that is still a world that we could be living in. I mean, that's kind of what the Roots did last year. When you talked about just get in and make the playoffs, see what happens, that's what Oakland Roots did last year. They just kind of scraped by until the last month and a half and just finally decided to be world beaters, and that's just what they did. And so right now, hey, if you're a fan of a USL team, maybe your aspirations were to win the conference. Maybe your aspirations were to win a home playoff game. It is okay to just make the playoffs because there is some magic that happens in the USL playoffs.
Yeah, and it's just when you're in the playoffs, you take it just kind of one game at a time. It doesn't matter what you did in the previous 34 games. Your season is basically that one match. And honestly, we've spoken a lot with just talking about teams like where do they hit the panic button. And I would say if you are still within a playoff spot, either occupying one or on the outside looking in, and you can become a playoff team with a win this weekend, you shouldn't really be like totally close to hitting the panic button.
Yeah. I do, before we kind of close shop, there's a couple things I do want to give shout outs to. League One, and the match that we have coming up this weekend with Greenville and Union Omaha, that is a massive match for the belt. And also, if you want some good entertainment, Gio has been in banter all week with their supporters, mostly about his hair, which granted he does have good hair, but it's definitely an entertaining read to do at least once a day. Also, this North Carolina versus Charlotte Independence, a little bit of a throwback to the championship days. That should be a pretty fun little matchup.
Yeah, there are a bunch of really good games going on with US. So it's interesting with that Union Omaha matchup. I think what really helps them out is their games in hand at the moment, but they're currently one of my top teams within the USL ELO ratings. But like I said, it's those games in hand that are really kind of helping boost that ranking, and the fact that they've gone 4 matches in a row unbeaten, much like Northern Colorado has.
For sure. And this is really big. And a couple of things before I move away. Hey, make sure if you're looking for stuff to watch this Saturday, you do need to watch the El Paso versus Detroit City match just to get those ratings up. The higher that number is, the more they're likely to put us on TV. So do that. There's a couple of interesting matches also in the USL League 2. AFC Ann Arbor versus Flint City Bucks. That's a really interesting matchup. This is where I am just, of course, going to throw out Christos FC because we have their fans in the chat all the time, and they've been awesome. They are a really fun club, and their W League team's pretty good this year too. So keep an eye on that. Watch, obviously, the USLW League. That is electric. But there's another match, two more matches I want to throw out from the League 2. One being Tampa Bay United versus Miami AC. That's a fun little matchup. We just had Tampa Bay versus Miami. Maybe we get a little bit of League 2 derby action. That one could be kind of fun. But also, those are two really, really good teams that just keep up with the score lines. And the last one is going to be, and I completely lost it, but it was going to be, I remember now, Vermont Green versus Boston Bolts, two really good teams. With Vermont Green, if you're not paying attention to what Vermont Green's doing, and it's not even just their kick game, if you see what they are doing up there right now, it is ridiculous.
That's one of those dream. I hope they can. New England just needs more teams within USL Championship and USL League One, but all the teams that are up there in USL 2 are just doing a tremendous job of just helping represent the region. And it's just a really fun conference to be a part of across with Vermont Green. AC Connecticut has done stuff in a while. Boston City is one of those longtime teams as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff happening around. One Knox has been really cool. They've had a lot of great support. Also, sorry, Vermont, but One Knox definitely does have, I think, the best kits in the game right now. They are so good.
And Asheville City is another one of those clubs that has tremendous support as well. Their games have been fun. I was able to attend one a few years ago, and it's a good time.
For sure. Well, that's about all I have for this little short show. You got anything else for the people?
Nothing else at the moment. Just looking forward to another weekend of USL.
Watch some USL, watch the game on ESPN, and just like this comment says, do not cancel your athletic subscription. Just complain about it on Twitter, but support the journalists that love to give us coverage because, local content creators do a lot, but the national guys are ones that get the clicks and can grow this game a lot. So please keep supporting them. So thank you guys so much for watching this short show. This is a little bit longer than a normal short show, but hey, I had a good time. Thank you, Ryan, for hopping on. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And for, I guess, the last time this week, let's listen to Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. This and every episode is brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. Find podcasts and other written work at bgn.fm. Once again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys again next week.